Welcome to Garranto Expert Talk Get. This is a new initiative from Garranto to get expert advice on the future of jobs and skills. Today's topic is Agile roles and skills. Emerging roles in Lean and Agile world. I would like to request Dr. Koti to take it forward.
Sure. Thank you, Mary. Appreciate that. Good evening, everybody. And let's get some time together today to understand some of the real dynamics in the Agile world. And how do you see that some of these stuff happening around in the recent past based on the digital disruption happening around? I am Dr. Koti. In the interest of those people, I'm sure few of you know that, and we are on time and getting started without any further delay in the interest of time. So just let me share my screen here quickly. In a few minutes, I will talk about myself, and then I'll give some time for you to introduce and set the expectation here. So I'm Dr. Koti, having about 3 decades of experience, out of which 20 plus years into IT and 1 year into the Indian Air Force here. I've been working in various industries, right from banking to all the way through manufacturing and healthcare as well. And typically, I worked into the IT transformation into the scaled agile, and I've been working into Scrum and Kanban, many more stuff as well. So what we would like to do today is, from my experience on the last 2 decades into the Agile world, I have seen enough role transformations as well. And I help people to mature in their career progression as well. And typically what I'm going to do today is sharing my experience typically, and looking at your questions and expectations on understanding these roles and skills, what it requires in the journey forward. So I will be more than happy to support the questions you may have at this point in time, more than anything else. So what we would do is now, in the interest of the remaining about 50 plus minutes time here, we will open up the house now to quickly introduce yourself. We have a good opportunity having less people here. You can introduce yourself. Where are you coming from? What is your expectation? What questions you have? And you see that there is a Miro board we are popping up here. This is what you can see in the Zoom chart here. You can click on that and you can get there. So what I would recommend is, please introduce yourself and you can put your expectations and what questions you have here. Use this board to post your questions. On the left hand side, you see there is a sticky note. Take a color of your choice and then post it here. Write what questions you have from this today's discussion. So for this, I will give a few minutes of the time, and then we will see all the questions. We will address them based on the time available. If there are many questions, we will do some dot voting. If there are less questions, I will be answering all of that questions. So you can copy paste this as many questions you have and use the color choice as per your interest, and you can type in your questions here. So while we are doing that, I would also ask you to just introduce yourself. And once your introductions are over, you can put your questions. I will time box for a few minutes. Then I will start addressing all of that. With that, may I request you to quickly introduce who are you, why are you here, and what is the main intention to learn from today? Anybody can start. Yes, team, please go ahead. Shalini, Kiran Kumar, or Ong Mayo Min.
Hello, good evening, sir. Myself, Kiran.
Kiran.
Yeah, I'm working as an lead electrical engineer in an APC company. Our company will do the power plants, and I'm working as an electrical engineer, taking the role as a lead electrical engineer. I have totally 15 years of experience in this field, in the EPC field. The main reason why I would like to show my interest in joining this thing is that because recently our company is also transforming towards the agility as one of the core value of the company. And we're not much aware of what is agility and why companies are so much interested nowadays moving to this. And because up to my knowledge, I learned about this agility in the software industry, but especially in the EPC and construction industries, recently we are knowing on these concepts. So just want to get some glance on that. I joined this event today.
Excellent.
Thank you, sir.
Good. Welcome.
Yeah.
Okay, who is going next?
Hi, sir.
Yes, please.
Sir, my name is Prem Kumar, and you can address me as PK. And I'm actually a classmate of Mr. Kiran just now who spoke to you. Basically, I work in the government entity. I'm working in the healthcare of in one of the government hospitals here in Singapore. And the reason why I'm here is because I would like to get some information on the agile nature of operations. Because I basically work in the engineering department under the operations team of SingHealth Singapore, and probably I can get some information on the agile operations which we can apply in the operations of the Singapore healthcare industry. So that's why I'm here. So probably we can share some information together to move forward in our daily operations.
Good. Excellent, Prem. Definitely we will look at that, some of the opportunities and any specific questions on the role transformation as well.
Yeah,
Sure,
thank you so much.
We'll do that. Thank you.
All right.
Yes, Zevi Lee, Shalini Singh, maybe you can go quickly to introduce. Can you hear me, Shalini, Zevi, and Ong Mayo Min? Looks like you're on mute. I'm not sure if you're speaking. Vamsi, why don't you introduce? Vamsi, can you hear me? You're on mute if you're speaking.
Yes, sir. Hello.
Please go ahead and introduce your little bit of introduction and why are you here, to what you would like to understand from the Agile roles and skills perspective.
Hello, everyone. This is Vamsi Krishna. I have 15 plus years of experience, currently working as an Agile coach. I just thought of having a refresher in this. Would like to know various Agile transformation techniques. If anyone wants to share any other ways, thoughts. So kind of refresher, would like to hear what others' thoughts are. Thanks to Koti.
Excellent. Good to see Vamsi here. Okay. So others are on mute. I'm not sure if everybody got introduced or not, while few people may else join as well. In the interest of time, let us move on. Use this Miro board, what I am sharing here again, and start posting all your questions. And I will give you a few minutes to post your questions and then I will take it up, right? So let me share the screen while you're doing that again. And I'm keeping the timer for about 5 minutes is a good time, I believe. Let me start the timer. Whatever the questions comes in the next 5 minutes, we will take a look. If there are many questions, we will do the dot voting, or else we will try to address all the questions. So time is on. Please go ahead and post all of your questions, please, here. Good, time is up, and I see very limited questions here. I'm not sure if you have more questions or not. You can ask on the fly as well as required. Since the questions are very limited, even audience are limited, I can definitely talk about these couple of things, and then we'll figure out what else we can do. So, how Agile is applicable in engineering, procurement, construction, and other businesses, right? So this is a typical question being asked most of the time in industry when people are going to implement Agile. What is in it for me, right? And we are not from IT exactly. How much it is making sense for a non-IT kind of industries, especially if you look at the construction, a typical procurement kind of process kind of thing. So can anybody say what is the meaning for you when it comes to Agile? What Agile means for you? Let me also do some coaching, and then I will talk about some of these answers. Anybody?
Customer satisfaction.
Customer satisfaction. Okay. What else? Others, please come on. What is Agile means for you?
Delivering iteratively, incrementally, and validating our assumptions for reaching the customer early.
Good, excellent. Iterative and incremental. So if you look at, let us take an example of construction. Let us say a flyover. We are constructing a flyover. That flyover is spread across your city, maybe in the radius of, let us say 100 kilometers. That is the radius of the city. And maybe in the Singapore, you are going to make a flyover across Singapore city to connect different points, whether you call a metro flyover or underground, the metro point of view. You need to do this. And this is the value you are creating to the customer to reduce the transaction cost in terms of their traveling time. So you are going for a very advanced technologies and everything. You wanted to construct this flyover or underground metro. Let us say this is an example of construction. Now, if you want to bring Agile into the way of this constructing the whole value creation, how do you find? Can anybody say, from your experience, first of all, can you do this outcome in Agile way or not? Yes, answer is yes or no.
I think yes. Traditionally, how it was done, like the entire route, they will dig it. And whatever layer by layer needs to be built, they will be doing it for the entire road from end to end. And the road is blocked for a certain time period.
Awesome. Well said.
Now, if we bring it to Agile in this, I think for a certain number of feet or number of meters, patch by patch, split it into one side of the road is open for the commute, and only half is digged, worked, fixed. Whatever layers to be built, it is built, and then it is up for the usage basically.
Excellent. Well said. It's Deepthi, right?
That's right, Koti, sir.
Awesome. So basically what happens here is when you're talking about agility into the construction of this kind of metro, typically, as you rightly mentioned, first of all, we dig around entire Singapore, or it could be around X city. If you are going to plan this, first people dig around. Then they may do the basic pillars around the city, across the city, because this is a project or product they think we need to do together kind of thing. Then I erect the poles across the city. Then I go and lay out the track and do everything else. No, this entire cycle may take few years of the time. If you are doing this traditionally, not thinking about Agile for a time being, what happens? We are digging, we are constructing the pillars, we are laying out the track, and everything happens for a good reason, but it takes a whole bunch of time. That is the way of traditional approach of doing things. In Agile, as you mentioned about it, we don't want to distract everything, and we don't want to create the disruption because of this construction. So instead of going around the entire digging, they will look out the business opportunity to do one step at a time, iteratively, incrementally. Now, what is iterative and incremental in this construction? Let us say you have about 50 odd stations in the entire metro project, or let us keep it simple, you have some 10 stations maybe. So our goal is to figure out a plan from station 1 to station 2 and station 2 to station 3 and so on and so forth. And people make some segmentation, okay, which is the most population area in the city where you wanted to address this project actually. We will start the game from point A to point B as a phase 1. Then I go to point B to point C as a phase 2, or whatever in that segmentation, you can figure out how many stations we need to build this. Definitely, you don't want to build this again for every station after station, right? Entire Singapore can be split into 4 parts, 1 quarter, and there will be multiple stations to support. And we will think strategically what phase of the thing should be get started to address most of the burning problems of the transportation. Now, what is that we are trying to do? Instead of that overall journey of, let us say, 5 years, which may take otherwise, we are just splitting that value creation by segmentation, point A to point B operations. And of course, you may learn a lot of great things in that point A to point B. We are going to incorporate the feedback into point B to point C. Meanwhile, you are getting your ROI also from point A to point B. If it requires 10 billion, you don't require 10 billion anymore, which otherwise required in the traditional way of doing things, because it requires only 1/4 of the money because you're doing only one phase. Because you are operationalizing that, you are going to get the ROI early in the game, and you are improving the next phase based on the learnings. Everything is beautiful. One, I don't need all the money because I'm not doing the entire Singapore or entire city. Only 1/4 or 1x portion of that, I need less money. So I need not to have all the money at any given point in time. By the time I go to the second phase, of course, I am start getting my ROI as well in the game. So even my remaining money requires little lower because I started getting my ROI. Because we got a lot of experience, we can improve the next phase. That will be the customer delightment and customer satisfaction because of the loopholes you figured out in the phase 1. By the time you complete, you will become more mature outcome and you are getting early ROI and you are getting the game very simplified way. So I think the question you asked about construction field agility, this is one way to look at it. Similarly, anything and everything, how do you reduce the time to market when you are going to talk about this? How are you going to reduce the time to market by changing the way of thinking what you can think and act to bring early ROI into the game and also reduce the risk and improve the experience of the people? That's what it is all about agility. Now, how do you split? How do you decompose? How do you divide and conquer? It is the art of the game. Again, how are you going to break out this work when it comes to construction? What kind of things you are going to do to improve that? Nowadays, you might have seen the big buildings as well, the huge floors. You are not yet constructed fully. You are starting operations in some floors. How that is happening? Gone those days, if I need to build 100 floors, until unless I do everything, I need not to go and operationalize. And even if the floors are not going to 10th level, there are business operations are getting done using the latest and greatest technologies and innovative ways to go and build further constructions. I think there are ways to think about it like these examples. You take anything for that matter. It is all about the mindset, the way you think and act. How do you reduce the risk of the future? How do you increase the ROI early in the game? There are some possibilities. Even in India, I got a chance to work with the National Highways Authority recently as part of some consulting work. There also we thought about some of these implementation and practices which helps them. Worst case, even I have seen some construction people doing, okay, what is that we can do when you are going to improve the outcomes? Now, there is something called daily Scrum, right? We all know in the Agile world, regardless of you use Scrum or any other frameworks, if you go and educate people the importance of daily Scrum to come back, everybody working in that overall outcome, what happens if they come daily to sync up and understand the progress they are making, and every 24 hours they adjust the levers based on the progress they are making? This is not a religious activity happening in the traditional world. Now, these kind of small practices can change the game. It could be construction, it could be any field for that matter. If you can introduce some of this concept, that makes a complete difference. And I was working with the MIT Business Global School, if you guys heard about MIT, and their education college, I introduced the Scrum. I introduced their planning for the quarter. I introduced how do they inspect and adopt on the semester examination to the students. And I give a lot of guidance to the admin people, what they should be doing, how do they manage their transaction better, how do they do the sales and marketing to increase the head count of the participant for the academic years, how do they think Kanban as a way of model for the transactions. So I blended a lot of these ideas of the Scrum and Kanban that improved their sales in immense manner year on year. So their director general is in a continuous touch with me, and we do a lot of those kind of ideas sharing. Now even he is taken to the next level in the academics as well. So what Agile and Scrum has to do with the academics in that case? I think it is all about intentions, what we do, and it makes the complete difference. And you're also talking about procurement. So procurement teams typically have a lot of purchase orders. And if you are thinking about implementing Agile in the procurement department, the problem what I see is people don't understand what Agile ways of working is feasible in the procurement. What Agile ways of working is feasible in any other enabling function for that matter. It could be procurement, it could be human capital, it could be marketing, sales, it could be any other departments in any organization. So you can still do something about Agile. The problem here is people sometimes don't understand beyond Scrum, and they try to fit Scrum everywhere, and Scrum does not fit everywhere, unfortunately. Scrum has got its own limitations until unless you have the right intents to implement. Now, Kanban is another powerful way of thinking about this kind of flow-based systems, where it is a procurement in terms of purchase orders and closing the orders, financial team, approvals and flow, and again, a lot of those things. We must really understand what is the agility in our case. How do you bring the transparency of the supply and demand? How do you start working on those flow-based tickets? There, Kanban is powerful. So if you understand there are ways in Agile, there is a way for you. If you think everything about Scrum, Scrum will not solve all the problems. Of course, Kanban may make sense everywhere, may not. Typically, from my experience, what I have seen is you can do anything and everything in the Kanban way, but you cannot do Scrum everywhere because Scrum has got huge limitations in certain ways of working. Typically in industry, as you're talking about, it could be construction, it could be a kind of oil and gas industries, it could be defense areas, it could be Boeing's kind of aircraft engineering companies, it could be car manufacturing kind of Porsche, Volvo. All these people are doing the Agile way of workings, including Boeing's and other stuff as well in the avionics industry. And if you go to maritime, recently, there is a few companies getting started into the maritime as well. Now, if you go to banks, anyway, by default, many banks started working on. There are many companies are started thinking about agility in their ways of working. The point what I'm trying to drive is, it does not matter what you are trying to do to the customers, what products you are building, what services you are providing, what domain you are into, there is a bit of agility everywhere. The question is, how do you connect the dots to your industry by understanding the concept of agility? And what framework you choose to bring agility? Scrum is not a silver bullet, or SAFe is not a silver bullet. Nothing is a silver bullet. At the end of the day, it is the context what counts. What do you understand about the context is what matters at the end of the day. You need to choose, inspect, and adapt and become more mature based on your type of domain and product and services, what you are going to do for the customers. So this is what I think that's very, very powerful question you asked, the one question. And it talks about all the dynamics of the industries and domains. And that is the agility. That's what you need to understand. When you understand the big picture of Agile, all the available frameworks, and when you connect your context, you will have some answers. And not necessarily that everything is going to work overnight for you. It's very important. Once you connect the dots, you try to experiment, then you are going to really inspect and adapt. The problem is when you are going to do the due diligence, that makes the complete difference. Don't just do something because somebody else is doing in the industry. At the end of the day, it is the context what it counts, and based on the context, you need to pick the right ways of working. Once you have that clarity, you are going to inspect and adapt, and even the frameworks will evolve. The way you work, it's going to evolve. What you thought today may be working for some time. When you become more mature, you may think about a different ways of working as well. So the bottom line, context counts. And you need to become a kind of understand the overall big picture of what is available. Do that little bit due diligence. Just don't rush to do the things because your competitors are doing, or you are liking to do something differently, or you have the ability to do something differently. Whether the situation demands or not is what also matters. And never ever try to do certain things to prove something working or not. Meaning, yes, Scrum works or not, Kanban works or not, Safe works or not, everything which works. The problem is what makes sense for you, what fits in your context. That is the enough due diligence you need to do. If you don't do that due diligence, there will be a problem. And definitely you may fail and you may blame everything else because you have not done enough due diligence. Except blaming, nothing else is possible for you. So I would recommend do some homework, do some research, and do the right things, whatever makes sense for your context. And then you inspect and adapt over a period of time. So that's the answer for all of that question what you asked there. I am sure you got some insights what it means for you. And if any other questions, I am more than happy to address further. Does it help to answer that question?
Yes, sir. Yeah, it's really gave some idea on that. What is really Agile and how we can take into that. I think, as you suggested, we need to do some more study because it's a completely new thing to me. But at least it gave us some idea how is that goes and how we can connect on that. Thanks for your explanation, sir.
Thank you. And also, as I mentioned, one size does not fit all, and there are no silver bullets. It is the intention of the people which can make the complete difference. If your intentions are right, there are ways to do that. If your intentions are very different, if you are kind of having a fixed mindset and you are not ready to change, you are not ready to experiment, I think that's where the whole problem comes. And sometimes organizations also need to really understand why we are doing what we are going to do. Sometimes as a person, if you have some capability, that's not going to work because you can do only so much of influence. Your knowledge alone is not enough. Your organizations need to think about this agility, why we are going to do something differently, and how that makes sense for us, and what we need to do to get there. So bottom up may not work at times, though you have some competency as individuals. The top down buy-in and approval and their skin in the game is also very, very important. If that's not there, except you getting into frustrations and getting, some kind of given up mentality because you can't do much influence in the system. Either you bring that awareness and kind of education in the enterprise if you see there is a need. Unless you have a burning platform, people are in the comfort zone. They are not ready to experiment. Only that burning platform and desire and to do something big can make people to think differently. That's what my experience. Without that, your competency alone and your skills alone may not be enough to get where you wanted to get. And look for the organizations where their mindset is already evolved. They moved away from fixed to the growth mindset already, and they are doing something good in the marketplace already with the new ways of working. You will find a lot of opportunities. I also seen personally from my experience, people having a lot of great knowledge are struggling in the enterprises when they are not ready to transform. So don't break your head by changing the people when they are not ready. Sometimes we, on a lighter note, we say that we are changing the entire world, we are transforming the world, which I don't believe in. We cannot even change our spouses, right? And we cannot change ourselves at times, even situation demands. Everybody has got certain perceptions, certain experiences, certain beliefs and values. You cannot change them so quickly. So understand the realities, understand the emotions of the people. You must really understand the whole big picture and look around where you can add some value. Don't try to force fit anything, and don't try to frustrate yourself being in an environment where you don't get support. So look around, there are opportunities, there are organizations looking for your kind of skill set, and go and do something great there. So otherwise, worst case, be happy with where you are without getting frustrated. You need to have the patience to see the real need for the transformations. Does it help everybody? That is my practical experience and practical tips on what you can do about the knowledge what you have. Good. Anything else from that questions, or anybody else has got any other inputs or sharing from your experience on those things?
So, Dr. Koti.
Yes, Dr. Nagesh, good to see you. Yeah, please go ahead.
Good evening. I'm sorry, I just joined because I just saw your message. Now I just joined.
Sure.
So, without knowing the background and what was covered so far, out of my ignorance, I just want to ask one question now.
Yes, please.
You may answer now, or you can answer it later. I will leave it to you, sir. See, my question is, yesterday, while we were doing some agile coaching conversation with a couple of clients and leadership teams, what one of the leader suggesting that in the last 10 years during agile transformations or business transformations, anytime during agile transformation, if a business leader taking up the ownership, the business leader taking ownership, they are going to be successful to some extent. But every time a technical leader taking up agile transformation, let's say CIO, Chief Information Officer, if he's a technical in nature, if he's taking up the agile transformation, mostly they are having challenges, may not be successful. That is what the data is showing. If you as a business leader, do you agree with that most of the successful agile transformations should be led by the business leaders, because they are the business people, they know business transformation or digital transformation. Do you agree with that, or would you like to share any data, how much validity this statement is all about, sir?
Yeah, thank you for asking that. See, typically from my experience, what I have seen is it does not matter who is taking the lead as long as they have the right mindset and as long as they understand why they are doing what they are doing. The edge, what you get a business person leading that role or the business unit head. For example, I have seen people where business units or lines of business heads are taking that real lead from the front, from lead by example kind of, because they can influence in the system so much all the way top down in their departments, there is a possibility that people will listen to that person. And also at times people may think their survival itself will become a question mark when the business unit heads are leading the efforts. Now again, when you look at the business side of the world, beyond the business unit heads, if they can lead, nothing like it. When business leads, they have all the interest, because from my experience, I have seen the main resistance come from the business side of the world, because they want the value sooner. They don't understand what is this agile and different ways of working, and they always keep bombarding with the requirement changes. If they can bring that agility mindset, if they can lead this transformation with this open mindset, that would be the awesome if you want to be really successful. And if you are going to really look at outside the business units or business stakeholders thinking, I think business unit heads is the next possibilities to be successful. Now coming to the technical part of the game, let us say a technical hands-on people in the organization wanted to lead some of these efforts because they understand where we are going, what we want to do differently, because the challenges what they see. I think there will be some struggle because they can't influence the entire system and their thinking process about the technology and other aspect and why we need to change kind of thing. They have a limited accessibility and influencing authority in the enterprise. Though technical people makes a lot of sense, they cannot do much of the influence in the organization. Having said that, what I would recommend to think is what is their level of influence in the organization, regardless of who is going to lead these efforts. Based on their servant leadership, their influencing ability in the organization, that can change the game. If people are always thinking about all the technical aspect, they don't care about the rest of the organization dynamics, they can't do much about it, definitely there will be a struggle. That's what I have seen. The reasons also I'm explaining why somebody can be successful based on their roles in the enterprise. So the way you can think is, from my experience on many other great transformations as well, when business people, the true core business sponsors can lead this effort, nobody else can stop because all the way down, the money is pumping from there and nobody else to say no for that. Then the business unit heads driving this also makes a lot of sense because of the influencing skills. Having said that, I have seen one of the great leaders in my experience where the technical people also leading and successful, not every time they will be, because they have good credibility in the system. When you have good credibility and trust, you can also lead. Just that because by virtue of your roles, that is by default, dictating the success from where it can come more or less. But I don't say it's the only way. There are ways where you can influence and you can get things done based on your credibility, how people look at you as an expert or go-to person. At that time, it does not matter who is talking for that matter.
Correct. So are we suggesting like the busyness? No, I agree with you. I think what you said is fair enough. I agree with your justification. So business and business value, business goals, business objectives should drive a transformation or a technology transformation. So that people wanted to achieve profits or business value, whatever it is. So business leader, an authentic leader who is more powerful in the system, if they drive ownership, things will be fairly accepted by one and all.
Yes, that's very correct.
Sure, thank you. Can I ask one more question now?
Yeah, definitely. I see only one more question yet to address, value stream mapping, that I will talk later. Since that you are in the flow, you can ask that question. We have another 17 minutes to go.
Okay, anyway, fortunately, my question was related to value stream mapping only. What happened the last week? Last week, while we were dealing with a big client team from Europe, this question came in. This is the real-time situation scenario regarding value stream mapping. While the negotiation is happening during the pre-sales activity, this point came in, Dr. Koti, like in a given agile transformation, there is this team, requirement collection, epics and capabilities and feature stories, they have given to a particular vendor A. A vendor A is going to do that job. Vendor B is going to do architecture roadmap design, vendor B is going to do. Vendor C is going to do testing, vendor D is going to do coding, vendor E is going to do application support and maintenance. Because it is for some kind of organization in a given country, they are going for this kind of multi-vendor scenario. Already there are enough complexity, enough confusion is there in the beginning. But if you are the agile transformation leader in such a given scenario, if you are the agile transformation coach or something like that, how would you handle when you talk about value stream mapping, value stream identification? So many 5-6 vendor teams are there. How tough it is, how complex it is. How do you address value stream mapping? They are going for a safe kind of hybrid thing. They are going for safe Spotify XP and less and that. They are identifying to go for a hybrid kind of scaling frameworks. Dr. Koti.
Excellent. So this is the reality of the life. Life is not a plain vanilla. And when you're going to talk about the complex product or services we are going to create, that is natural part of the game. Now, the question is how much you are prepared to take this kind of challenging work and transform, and more than your risk appetite and courage, how much that organization is ready to take the journey forward with this kind of stuff. There are two important elements in the game of transformation. Because I have done multiple things in my life, not necessarily that they will be interested to get there and they are liking to do that. Now, the question is, if somebody is decided to do this kind of transformation, when this kind of many vendors are involved in this overall value creation, first of all, how ready they are. This is the first question as a consultant, right? What is the business case we are solving here? And how are you prepared? How much you know about this way of working? If these questions are not understood or addressed, then you cannot do anything about it, number one. When you say that this organization is very well prepared, they understand the complexities, they understand who are all involved, and they wanted to do this journey, which means you are saying, yes, the tipping point is reached for this organization to do something differently. They understand the game better, they understand the complexity, they know everything. Then, if you have the ability to do this kind of work from your experience or your understanding, that's where the converging factor you need to think about it. If either one of these things are not done, you are going to disaster only. Nothing else will happen. Now, how much you know about this transformation, how much organization ready is the first converging factor. Once you are done with that, I think the education and socialization about the journey forward you have to do. If I understand it correct, you are talking about people interested to transform using some of the frameworks like SAFE, using some of the technical practice like XP and everything else at the team level. You need to make sure that all of these vendors have the same commitment to do this end outcome. For that, you may need to educate, socialize, do all the trainings required, create that value stream workshop, look at the complete end-to-end value stream, where the customer is actually coming with the request, where the end results are done, the trigger and the end value, and who are all involved in that game, put them different spots, different vendors doing different things, and align them for a common purpose, agree upon the cadence and synchronization points, and create all of that integrations and look at the value. This is definitely possible. There is no questions asked about it. As long as these all people are prepared to take the journey forward with that right expectation of the frameworks. So typically, I have seen from my experience, at least development organization is X company, testing is a Y company, integration is again a Z company, compliance is XYZ company. I have seen this from my experience. Just that what you need to be careful as a consultant is, if you are a qualified a person to do that journey, you need to align all the people and you need to make sure that the right cadences and synchronization is created, and the people from their organization is part of the goals preparation and the execution and everything else, the synchronization points. Sometimes in that journey, somebody may say that, okay, we are part of the journey. We know that we are the integrators for one of the piece of the components here. We cannot do anything before next 3 weeks for you. Or we cannot give anything before next 1 month for you. Or we need to figure out the better ways. We cannot do anything before 6 weeks from today. You need to really ask the questions about what is the latest time or the possible time box where you will get the input from everybody. Remember, you cannot run faster than the slowest component of the system you are creating. When you see that there is a timeline coming like this is the maximum time we need to wait to see some tangible result from somebody, without that you cannot move with the solution. You need to define that as your cadence, in fact. It's not about 2 weeks or 1 week or X weeks. Until that comes, you don't see any valuable thing. So if you are going to implement SAFe says up to 12 weeks maximum, or bare minimal 8 weeks, or typically 10 weeks of industry experience where they create the time box. If you are going to talk about outside SAFe, the time box does not matter for you. As long as you have the agile way of thinking, agile mindset, preparing to bring that long-term value to short-term by integrating all of these people, decide what is the time box looks like for you to see some tangible value. If everybody says that we cannot do anything in the next 1 year, thank you. Because we are taking already many years together to go to the market already. With this kind of complexities, we never know when we'll go also. That's where I was talking about how they are prepared, organization-wise, mindset-wise, how can they decompose the value creation. That is the first level of thinking, and then come to this model, align the people, identify the time box, fix that what are the timelines we are going to work upon. If you cannot do anything before 1 year, even I cannot inspect, SAFe does not work there, period. SAFe is not a silver bullet to solve everybody's problem for a good reason. Having said that, take an example of NASA. NASA is a rocket launcher in the United States. How can they do Agile there? They're implementing SAFe quite for some time now. If NASA can do SAFe implementation, I don't think anybody on the planet cannot do, period. And they are not launching their satellites incrementally, right? They are going on a time when they want to go to the XYZ planets or do any launches for that matter. They are doing on a specific day. Before that, it may take few months, few years. Then what are they doing in these years and months? That is the mindset shift. Do you think everything is done by NASA by themselves? They are using hundreds of components across the globe. And there are hundreds of partners involved in that launching. Then how are they able to do that? It is the mindset at the end of the day again. Look at any other dynamics and you can look at many companies which are very complex in nature, the way they are working today. Then how they are able to do that? Now, Porsche car company or the Boeing aircraft company, they are using SAFe. How are they using SAFe? If they need to go to air and at the worth of the passenger's life in their hand, then what kind of facility they are doing? Do you think Boeing is preparing all the things by themselves in their single room? They are involved with hundreds of partners to get all the components. They don't manufacture by themselves everything. So how they are doing all of this? It is the mindset again. Forget about 3-4 vendors. You can work with 300 vendors also in a way of working, as long as you know why we are doing what we are doing, what kind of knowledge and skills it requires for the people to be part of the game. I don't think there is any limitation when you have the right mindset, with the right preparedness. It is the people preparedness, organizational preparedness, content readiness. Many things makes a lot of difference if you want to really make the difference. If you think it's not, even a small scale single startup also cannot do Agile if you stop your own limiting of the thinking process. It is the mindset, it is the way you think and act. Rest of the dynamics does not matter. It is all just part of the game. That's what my belief and my experience. And it's limitless. Only sky is the limit when you have the right intentions. And right agility means for you more than anything else. Value streams are just part of the game. How that reflects in your mind when I say all of this, what your mind says now?
Correct. That helps, Dr. Koti. I agree. People are able to do complex things. So your explanation, understanding that really helps. Thanks, Dr. Koti.
Thank you. Yes, there is one question on value stream mapping tips. I think on the same lines. First of all, the problem I see from my experience is people don't understand what is a value stream, what is a value stream mapping, what is a value stream analysis, and what is a Kanban, what is a DevOps. People bring all of these things together with a lot of interconnectivity and overlapping kind of stories. Recently, when I was explaining these value streams in the implementing SAFe class, somebody is talking about DevOps is also same. DevOps also we continuously explore, we integrate, we deploy and everything to the customer value, right? All the way from requirements. Then what is the difference in DevOps and value stream? So you need to understand what the real value stream is all about, what is DevOps is all about, and everything else is all about. With your limited capability of understanding the concept, if you get confused, again, it's a big problem, right? DevOps is just an enabler. It is a tool and technique and engineering practices to make your life easier. DevOps does not care about the rest of the dynamics, right? It is all about how do you continuously learn and improve by using engineering maturity. Value streams start with customer, end with customer, period. If there is no ask from the customer, there is no value stream. And if you are not creating value to the customer and for the provider, there is no value stream. No one is doing the charity on the planet. We are all existing for a good reason of the customer. How are you really care about customer? What is that you are trying to do for them? And how are you going to achieve that value stream? What steps involved in the game? That is the value stream is all about. So whenever you see there is a question, why we are doing what we are doing, what is the triggering point for that? If you don't know the answer, you're not doing any value stream there. If you don't know what value my customers get, what value I get because of this deliverable, it's not a value stream. Once you have the clarity on these two endpoints, think about what all we need to do now. Where the work is coming from, where the work is going, what is upstream, what is downstream, what are the number of things it required in the value creation. That's what the most an important thing when you look at the value stream. Then you think about what are the delays in the system, how can you focus on the handshaking between that steps to reduce the time to market, because our ultimate goal is to create that end value to the customer in the shortest possible lead time. That is the ultimate goal of everything we are doing today, regardless of what framework you choose. Value stream is the base for everything. Understanding that the delays in the system, how do you focus on reducing the delays to maximize the speed to market or reduce the speed to market is what matters at the end of the day. So sometimes you need to start the game and you are going to preparing yourself for the value stream mappings with that customer in the mind, and then looking at all the steps and focus and delays can help you to do that job. Of course, every functional skill required to create that value will become that steps in the value stream. Sometimes people don't understand how many value stream steps we need to create. In a nutshell, you need to understand what are the functional people involved in this value stream. That many steps you need to create, or that many columns you need to create. Sometimes when people are creating how many columns and steps in the overall value chain, depending upon the number of skills and competencies it required to create the value. I have seen as maximum as 15 steps, as low as 3-4 steps also, depending upon the context. Once you identify the endpoints and the steps involved based on the functional skill it requires, it will be easier for you to navigate the rest. It will be easy for you to figure out the delays in the system. It will be easy for you to focus on the delays and to reduce the time to market. That's the bottom line. There is a great book by Value Stream Mapping. So we will also share some more literature on that. That might be helpful to understand how do you put yourself into that value stream mapping context to make more a meaningful value stream for the customers. So I hope that helps. The person who is asking about value stream tips there. Think about customer and always see that what is in it for you and what is in it for customer, and have that dialogue and create that value for them. I think we are also almost on the top of the hour. Last 1 minute to go. Anybody else? Any more questions before we call off today? Yes, please. Anybody else? Any other questions or any other reflections? Yes. Anybody? Any other questions or any other reflections quickly before we call off? Silence is not good. This is your time to give any feedback or any last minute questions. I think anybody's, yeah, we'll see.
It was productive, sir. Time well spent. Thanks for sharing your insights on value stream mapping and how this is helpful in the construction business and all. That's all I had.
Good. Thank you, Vamsi. Good. I think if anybody has got any other feedback, please let it come to Garranto, and we will look into that. And if anything of we can help, we can see that. If you have any other queries on this Agile journey or roles or responsibilities or skill set and career aspirations and all, please reach out to them, and then we will try to address some of those things as well. Thank you for spending your valuable time here, and take care and have the rest of the great weekend. Stay safe and catch up again in another opportunity. Take care.
Thanks.
Thanks, Koti, Dr. Koti.
Thank you, sir.
Very, very useful session. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye. Take care. Okay, team, you can stop recording now.